Hello and welcome to another behind the scenes wedding day. The Nikon Z6 III, as well as a f1.2. It's gonna be my main lens for the day. And also we're kind of into a positive problem of a day where the day is just beautiful and there's not one single cloud in the sky. And that's going to be a challenge because we're doing a lot of the photos before the ceremony. So a lot of harsh light, but we're gonna minimize that through locations. We're also at a golf course, so there's even maybe less shade than we would usually have. But that's one of the fun parts about being a wedding photographer. You gotta do the best you can with whatever you're given. And today we're given a beautiful day, so I can't complain. But it is going to make things a little bit harder than if we did have some clouds. Today we're doing hybrid coverage, which means we're doing both photography and video. And I know what you might be thinking right now, that I would love to offer hybrid photo video coverage and do a highlight film for my couples, but I don't want to do any video editing. Well, I have the solution for you. Wanderlust Videos, they are going to be who I'm using for this year. I've talked about them on the channel in the past. They're going to be editing all of my highlight films. They'll also do more of a feature edit as well. I do a montage style, which is just clips set to music. They also go through and they color correct everything, which is critically important when you're using multiple different cameras. So if you are interested in offering hybrid, or if you already have started offering hybrid and you just want someone to edit your films for this year, check out the link below to get started. And there's a special gift on there as well. So the 51.2 is an incredible lens. It's a lens that I've always been on the fence with. The 50mm focal length, well, this is an amazing lens, and there's a few 1.2 primes now for Nikon, the 35 and the 85. The 85, 35 are a little bit more expensive. The 50 is the less expensive, and it kind of just fits right in the middle. I'm not going to carry all three of those primes with me to a wedding, and I love the look of this lens. I'm just really trying to get comfortable with the 50mm focal length. In my brain, it does seem like it's the lens that could do everything all day, but in reality, I find myself using maybe a 35 or a 35 to 150 for the ceremony, or an 85mm prime for the reception. So that's why I've always been on the fence with this lens. The images though, they're absolutely beautiful. I am so happy with the image quality, and the fact that whatever happened over at Nikon and the engineering team to make this lens, I feel like this was someone's passion project and they just got to put everything into it. You'll also notice that it's pretty big in comparison to other prime lenses, and that is because everything is just kind of done perfectly in the lens. They're not relying heavily on software to correct something that they could have just done in the glass. And because of that, you're just getting a really, really beautiful image in pretty much any lighting condition. There's no errors, no issues at all with this lens, no focus breathing when you're doing video. Just an incredible experience. Now, when it comes to the Nikon Z6 III, it's an incredible option for wedding photographers, especially if you're doing hybrid, because this is 4K 60 with no crop. So the Z5 II is the other camera that I'm going to be using today. And unfortunately, when you go into 4K 60, it puts you into an APS-C crop. So you can be taking your 50mm full frame photos, but then as soon as you go into video mode and you're trying to do 4K 60, I do everything. What that means is that it's I'm recording everything in more frames than necessary in order to make it slow motion in post-production. And I do this because I think it just feels better for wedding films. You can definitely abuse it and just only ever deliver your wedding films in only slow motion, which I get, it works as long as you're doing like a 3-minute highlight, kind of like we're doing today. But as soon as you go beyond that and you start including speeches, you definitely just can't do the entire thing in slow motion. But that said, if you do want to deliver a lot of it in slow motion, you kind of got to shoot everything in 4K 60. The other option is to do something in HD and 60 frames a second for me, and that works a lot of the time. You just have to be really conscious of your framing. With 4K 60, I can crop around a little bit and I can make some HD looking frames from scenes that maybe have distracting things happening on the edges, or if I'm using a prime and I can't zoom around it. It's really, really helpful. When you are in HD 60, that's kind of it for your frame. You can maybe move in a little bit before the quality really starts to degrade and it becomes really noticeable, but you don't have nearly as much leverage. Also, don't forget to bring that sunscreen when the sky looks like this. I also have the Smoke Ninja with me today as well, and I'm hoping that I don't forget that this is in the car. We'll probably use this after dark to do some off-camera lighting, maybe outside. Probably not going to use it for getting ready, although I could, maybe next time. I also brought this Fujifilm Quick Snap. I learned some things from last week to use it myself and to always turn the flash on if I'm going to be using it, because it's not as sensitive film as I thought. I have, what is that, like 15 photos on it, and I'll try to finish that today if I don't forget about it. Fits easily in my back pocket, which is pretty nice. All right, we got hot sun ceremony. Well, using myself as a subject here. At least it's even light. And then this is probably the good light, so if whoever's standing on this side is going to be at least in good light during the ceremony. And walking down the aisle here, this is what it's going to look like. Spicy. So, first look spots. Trees, if no golfers, but probably golfers, so I don't want to do that. because I think stage is best, but
Stage is the coolest and most private.
yeah. And changing from the 50 to the 35 to 150 for the first look to have a little more versatility. So we really do the best we can to balance all the elements given to us on a day and make the best location possible. So we search for the shade. We want them comfortable, and when they're in the shade, they're in good light, although they are getting a bit of that red bounce from what will soon be the dance floor. So something that we had to color correct out in post-production, but it seemed like the best option. We weren't going to be interrupted. It wasn't inside the reception space where we would have to make everybody stop moving and stop setting up. And I think it worked out pretty well. A lot of my couples are now doing private vow readings. Some choose to have audio on them, so if we're running full video for the day, we might have some sort of Tascam pack or DJI wireless kit on them to capture that audio. Today, not the case. I will say that when you start capturing audio and you're doing multicam on a ceremony or speeches, it does start to make things a lot more complex in post-production. So Wanderlust videos will help you out if you choose to go with them. But overall, it does increase the editing time significantly, I would say. And a lot of my couples, they just want the highlight. They don't want anything beyond that. Do you want to just do top button just for one? We'll just do the smile face the camera for one, and then you can undo it. Nice. And you just put arm around each other. Rotate a little bit towards me this way. That's great. All right, easy. This is Tim and I getting on a golf cart, and hopefully we can find a little shade. I honestly might just use this because this is in the shade and nice. So I'm gonna have the two of you guys right here, and then try to find a spot where your head's not kind of poking through the sun. And then if
Guy girl.
yeah, if the math on that works, I think it almost does. Perfect. All right, and then have a look towards me here for a few seconds, and then I'm gonna make you all talk to each other again for. Nice. Can I make everyone take like a half step back, possibly? That's good there. Sorry, just trying to get little hot spots of sun.
Take a shot of you guys all walking towards us nice and slow. So you're gonna turn to the person next to you, have a little friendly chat with them. You let your hands go nice and loose, let the flowers kind of dangle there, and just go for a little chat. Chat noir.
Nice. So sometimes you are in complete control of your locations and your surroundings. Sometimes you're at a golf course where they have kind of a predetermined photo route, and unfortunately there's not a whole lot of shade on this photo route, and it is a golf course that is currently in use, so we can't just go and find a tree because it's a little dangerous. And this isn't a new situation for me, and I feel like when I was very new to wedding photography, it was quite a challenge for me to override if someone was like, here is the photo location, go take pictures. If an event coordinator or someone was telling me this, it was very difficult for me to be like, no, that's not good, we need to go somewhere else. So typically I would try to make it work because I'm sure that they've seen other photographers make photos work there, but it wasn't working for me, but I wasn't sure, and there was a lot of conflicting emotions, and the more that I just do what I think is right, the better. But that took me years to learn. If you want to hold her dress, just so be a little closer together there. Nice. All right, and if you want to turn around and come back towards us here, and you can just be looking at each other. It's pretty nice. Struggling for spots here. We kind of have this space, and then we do have some green over there. I feel like the green is maybe better, but it's a little bit on the tee box. Let's see. I think this works. Good open shade. Fits 12 people if needed. All right, looks good. And everyone just have a look towards me here. And can I make you all look at each other and laugh about something for 2 seconds? Nice. Thank you.
You want me to start yelling at family shots?
That looks good. All right, everyone looks good. Nice. Thank you for doing this. This is like the most common, efficient this has ever gone, especially with kids too. All right, so hot sun ceremony breakdown. People are gonna be walking down the aisle. You can see my shadow is here, so I want to be on this side so that at least I'm getting some of the most flattering light, rather than just shooting them only on the sunny side. And then when everyone's leaving, I'm probably gonna get wider than I normally would. One, because it's a nice scene, maybe with the exception of the Argo over there, but also so that people aren't too squinty. You can always crop in after if they decide, but I think it's gonna make a better photo. We are now into the copyright music playing in the background section of the day, so I have muted the audio and I will speak to you in voiceover. I also wouldn't narrate over my camera. Somebody thought that I was narrating. They were like, why do you talk over like during the ceremony? And I do the voiceover in post-production. So there are a number of different ways that you could approach a ceremony like this. I think it does, for a little bit of it, it comes down to the look is what it is. I also think that a lot of my couples, they don't necessarily need the greatest ceremony photos that have ever been taken in the history of time. I know, and I can see the stats on my PicTime gallery, how many images get downloaded, which images get downloaded, and it is often not a full ceremony over and over again. It might be a couple of images here and there, but the primary images that are downloaded are the family photos. So if you're not focusing on getting those really, really good, you are doing, I think, a disservice to your clients. And then also just the super boring photo of them smiling facing the camera. And then I think the couple probably also downloads the creative portraits, maybe in golden hour. We got an amazing golden hour on this wedding day. Very, very thankful for that, because the afternoon photo session was a little more challenging than it usually is. I'm on the Tamron 35-150, which I think is the best ceremony lens of all time. Tamron has recently announced a 35-100, which is smaller, a little less weight, I think less expensive, and maybe solves. So the 35-150, I've heard of this maybe 5 or 6 times now. There is a center element that sometimes shifts, and I don't think I was too hard on the lens that shifted in. And Marshall, who does videos on the channel as well, he had a 35-150 that also had, it was a smaller shift than what I had. And I've also heard this happening from a few other people. So I don't think it's a huge product stopping issue, but I think it is something that makes me a little bit nervous. I know I'm for sure checking my focus now after I had that issue, but the 35-100 is for sure interesting to me because it mostly comes down to heaviness. So that's also my hang up on this 51.2 is that it's wonderful and beautiful and the perfect lens most of the time, but it is really heavy and it's also expensive. This way here. Family photos done. Cocktail hour begins. I am now retiring the 35-150. It did good during the ceremony. I'm hoping, and I think that the Imagen profile that I used actually kind of makes the direct sunlight pretty usable. I think that's one of the benefits of this profile specifically, is that it kind of makes all day look pretty good, even if you are in non-ideal lighting situations. And then for the rest of the night, I'm going to be on the 51.2 and probably the 85 1.8 for speeches. And then once we get to first dances, 50 for a bit, and then maybe 24 if it's a big party. The crazier the party, the wider the lens. And it looks like we're gonna get a really nice sunset as well. So we have about a half an hour for sunset photos, which is a lot more time than I normally have. And I think we get 2 on the golf course, which is gonna be really nice. So probably 51.2 for that part, maybe the 85 1.8. In all honesty, they look kind of the same, the final images. 85 1.8 at 1.8, 50 1.2 at 1.2. They look very similar. I can't do a test today, but in my mind, I'm happy with both. And the 50 is a lot heavier, so don't sleep on the 85. And look what we found. The number one question that always comes up anytime I do any sort of off-camera flash tutorial for weddings. If you've watched any of them, you know that I just kind of bounce off whatever I have. And the number one question is always, what happens if the ceiling is orange wood? And today, we get to do it. So, podium is here. I'm gonna bounce my light off of this spot right here. And all that light's gonna come back on whoever's at the podium. And at that point, I have to decide whether I just set my camera to incandescent white balance. And it's also a little bit of a choose your own adventure. So you can just shoot an ungelled, so just the regular daylight bulb off of the orange. Sometimes it picks up the orange and it throws it at people. Sometimes it's really orange and you have to set your camera to incandescent white balance. Sometimes it just kind of works fine and it just kind of is a bit of a warming gel. Or if it's not orange enough and you want to match the orangeness of the reflected light that's coming off of the ceiling, you can actually add an orange gel to it and then just light everything up orange and then set your camera to incandescent. And usually you're pretty close. You can also do Kelvin, you could figure it out. I also like to set my flash up here and cast a bit of a net of good light on people. And what I mean by that is that this is going to work for the podium as well as anyone sitting at these tables that's kind of close by, or anyone that just happens to be wandering by. In this area of the venue, they're going to be in good light. They're going to look good. Here we have the Smoke Ninja Pro. Turn it on max. Here we go. It's nice and backlit. It's nice, right? So we'll see if that actually sticks around or not. I think it'll be fun. You know what? I'm gonna get you guys. Can you just walk across the dance floor again? Perfect. And you guys can just look at each other and just pretend you're going for a walk for sunset photos. Beautiful. Nice. All right, let's go find some green stuff. Most of my couples, they make time in their schedule. I think it's a common thing for most weddings now to have maybe a 10, 15-minute window. It's very nice when you just have outside access to something like this. Tim is on smoke duty there, and it looks pretty good. I don't want to overdo it with any effect. I feel like you do it, you're happy, and then you move on and you do something a little more classic. I've felt the same with tilt shift lenses. I definitely overused them when I first got them, so keep that in mind. You can have a little bit of smoke like this, but don't get crazy if you get the Smoke Ninja. All right, wanderlust videos. If you do want to have your videos edited for you, montage edits are the ones that I use for my highlight films. Very easy. I don't have to do anything. It's just done. Now moving into the later reception, I do a little bit of off-camera flash. I will be doing some more videos on off-camera flash this year. I feel like it's something that I do in a slightly different way than a lot of other people, and it works really well for me, and it makes my couples look good, which I think is the most important. I also put the Smoke down, and the band, I think, or whoever was mixing the audio thought that their amps were on fire or something. So let the soundboard person know if you are putting some of your own ambience on the dance floor. Thank you so much for watching, and any questions, put them down below, and check out Wanderlust videos. There's a link down below with your special gift. And if you're interested in watching another behind the scenes, check out this behind the scenes that I did with Jason Vincent that is floating on the screen right now. Went to Mexico, followed him around for a wedding day. A lot of off-camera flash use, a lot of creative energy into that day. So check that out if you haven't seen it. It's a great video and lots to learn because Jason is amazing. See you next time.